snuffy, cold chill up your spine. You'll get your ass moving, son, with burning daylight.
Howdy there, I'm Matt McKinley and we're Burnin Daylight.
In the saddle till the job's done right.
Welcome to Burnin Daylight, the only podcast for the working cowboy. Well, welcome back, Daylight Burners. Got a good episode for you today. Got a fella named Benny. He's with the 10th Special Forces Group out of Colorado. One of our country's top tier operators. Kind of a small group of people. Had the pleasure of meeting him and his family this fall at the War Party Ranch buck and horse futurity that they helped put on, and drank a few beers. The fella cooked me a hell of a steak and eggs for breakfast, and it was just a good time. And so anyway, Benny, we can't say last names. There'd be probably some stuff that I'll get shut down on because he is active duty and does some real serious shit for this country. So Benny, welcome to the show. Glad to talk to you again, man.
Yeah, excited. Thank you for having me on.
You bet, man. It's always good to meet good people. And I was telling my wife, got to meet your little girls and your wife and everything, your boys that you work with, and I guess not always. I started saying this the other day because I say Jesus is my faith, but good people is my religion. I don't really care where you come from, what you do. I like good people, and you guys seem like good people in my book. So I'm glad to have you on and get to know you a little bit more because we didn't get. I mean, we spent some time bullshitting, but not enough, I don't think.
Yeah, no, it was a good time. It was my girls' first rodeo, so they were ecstatic.
That's awesome. That little kids at a rodeo are the best. I've been to, I can't even count how many rodeos and ranch rodeos and stuff I've been to, and anymore I don't even pay much attention to the actual performance. I'm more just shooting the shit with guys behind the chute or whatever. But it is really cool watching little kids at a rodeo for the first time. One of my college roommates, a good buddy of mine, his family came out and visited, and we took him to a ranch rodeo, and his boys they were just enthralled by the bucking horses, which that's what boys should be, is just transfixed by bucking horses. That's outside of the gunfighter stuff. It's one of the manliest things you can do is get on a bucking horse.
Oh, for sure. It's absolutely crazy to me when I'm watching it.
It's wild. But I think I've said this many times through since I've started this. Like the most similar mindset I've ever come across when it comes to cowboys is military guys, but particularly the guys that see the shit, like you guys, the SEALs, the Marine, 82nd Airborne, the guys that actually see combat, because you have stories that nobody but your boys can relate to, and it's kind of the same way with working cowboys. It's just you can talk about them, but only the guys that have and the people that have done it really understand what you're talking about. And I get that type of sense from you guys. I've never seen combat or anything like that, but the stories have the same type of feel, like the mindset. There is no quitting time. It's whenever you're done, you're done.
Oh, for sure.
And so anyway, I've always kind of got along with guys like yourself, and I think a lot of it comes from that type of mentality. Is it's just it's a hard profession. It's not easy work, but I can't imagine myself doing anything else until I'm just physically unable to.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, that's how a lot of us feel, but I mean, anybody who's worked a ranch, I mean, there's no weekends on a ranch, you
No.
know, and kind of like us when we're on deployment, there's no weekends on a deployment. So it's kind of the same thing.
Yeah, for sure. You and also the guys that you work with are sometimes, a lot of times, a little bit unsavory, not good in social settings in public. Like they're kind of a bull in a china shop type mentality. So they're better off just left to their own devices, away from the general public.
Yeah, I would say some fall under that for sure. Uh, it's not as common kind of with special forces, being
Mm,
that, you know, our job is to, you know, operate by, with, and through
yeah,
partners. So we kind of, you have to be personal and like personable, uh, in this job, and, you know, to make the friends that we make and to continue work with the guys that we work with. Yeah, you definitely have to be personable, but there are times when you can catch some of us, and, you know, it's just one of those days, as I'm sure you can catch a cowboy, and it's just one of those days
yeah,
that,
yeah.
yeah,
I know exactly what you mean, and well, and like Green Berets in particular, you guys, like one of your main focus is training an indigenous force. So yeah, like you said, you kind of have to be somewhat personable because you're dealing directly with people from a different country and trying to train them to become a competent fighting force.
yeah, for sure.
How like how does, and without getting way into the technical and off limits type of stuff, but like how is like the language training and stuff? Do you speak several languages, or at least passable enough to carry on a conversation?
Yeah, so, well, each special forces guy, during the qualifications course, you have a language block of 6 months, and then we have to do 40 hours every year, so we kind of keep up on our language. My language, Russian, so I speak Russian. I don't speak fluently by any means, but I can get by in simple conversation.
Okay.
And then you pick up other languages kind of on the way. I lived in Germany for 5.5 years, so I know some German. Again, enough just to get by. I know some French. I know Polish. So you kind of pick those up along the way.
Um,
Uh,
are Polish and Russian fairly similar?
no,
Okay.
no, they're two separate branches of the Slovak language.
Hmm.
I mean, they do kind of fall under the same branch. There can be some similarities, but it really, it's completely different. Polish is, you know, its own language.
So it'd be like comparing Spanish to French. They're both Latin languages, but they sound nothing alike.
Correct. Yeah.
Okay, because I know Spanish and Italian and Portuguese are not interchangeable, but they're pretty similar. My wife's a Spanish teacher, and so she's a language expert in her own right. And so I've picked up. It's funny. She's a blonde haired, green eyed white girl, and I'm half Mexican. And I speak a little bit of Spanish, not much. I mean, just it's like feedlot Spanish that it's just enough to get by with some of the guys, and I can understand quite a bit more, but if they're speaking slowly, and that doesn't happen much with Mexicans in particular. I don't know about Spaniard Spanish, but Mexican Spanish is usually pretty rapid fire.
Yeah. 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 I mean, I could feel the same way. It's any time I have to speak Russian or anything close to Russian or Polish, I have to continuously ask for the person I'm talking to slow down,
Yeah.
you know, or say it a different way. And yeah, I feel like a 5-year-old
I
when talking to, but
I believe that. I know. It's funny this because I'll get people. It hasn't happened as much, but it used to happen quite a little bit more, where people would come up and just rattle off Spanish to me because I mean, I look Mexican, I'm half Mexican, so they. But then it's just like no habla español and or muy poquito and like I'll get I can usually kind of understand or at least get the gist of what they're saying, but have no idea how to respond to it other than no no habla.
Yeah.
But it's so I've heard that Russian, like once you learn the alphabet and all the sounds with the alphabet, the language itself is pretty self-explanatory from there because and I said this is just from what I've heard. I've not researched anything. It just they said that like each character of the Cyrillic alphabet makes a certain sound, and then so then once you know the sounds, then it's easier, at least to read, anyways. I don't know, but
Yeah, reading it for sure, and then speaking it. The biggest thing that we run into with speaking it is, the conjugations. So if something's feminine or masculine, it completely changes the context of the word.
Oh, okay.
So if I'm speaking about, all right, so like a dog is a sabaka, right? But because it ends in that aka, it's feminine.
Okay.
So if I were to say my dog, I'd have to say when the word for my is moi, but I have to say maya because it's feminine, so maya sabaka.
Okay.
And that is a very, very simple explanation as to why it can get difficult. I think the biggest thing with the language, though, is I can't speak Russian in a lot of places we go. A lot of places we go, they're not fans of them for, I think, relatively obvious reasons.
Yeah.
So when we do speak it, or when we are doing our 40-hour block of speaking it, and I think it's with any language, is your brain doesn't think in that language.
Yeah.
So by the end of that 40-hour block, because I've been speaking it with a teacher continuously, my brain can start to think in that language, and so it's not as slow. Instead of me hearing Russian, translating it to English, thinking of what I'm going to say in English, translating it to Russian, and then saying it back, it starts to think in Russian, answer in Russian, and I say it in Russian. So, yeah, it's just, it's a perishable thing,
Yeah. I get what you mean. It's well, it's kind of like playing guitar. Like I can physically play guitar. I taught myself a while back, but I don't play anymore. And I was never very good at it. But it's I'll pick it up and I can remember the chords. But like, boy, you got to train your fingers back again to get it to sound good. And I imagine it's the same way with languages too. Like repetition's a big thing. Muscle memory, I guess, is I mean, it kind of goes with everything. Muscle memory is a huge thing. Just repetition.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, like when we first get to my last trip to Poland, you first get to Poland, I'm trying to remember everything in Polish, and then by the end of it, I can, order food and, get a beer and talk to the partners I'm working with, a little bit here and there, ask how they're doing, how their day was.
Yeah.
Talk certain things because, again, my brain makes those connections a little quicker. So.
Yeah. So I worked with a guy when I was in high school. He's a Mennonite dude. And he spoke High German, Low German, Spanish, and English. Because he was German ethnicity, but was born in Mexico, I believe, and then immigrated to Kansas. And my brother-in-law worked with him full. I just worked there one summer in high school, but my brother-in-law was telling me, they were talking, and he asked him, he's like, well, how do you think? And he's like, well, at home we speak, I think it was Low German, but he when he was, I think he grew up speaking High German, and then his wife spoke Low German. And so, like, when he's talking to his wife, he thinks in whatever one it was, and then he would dream in the other German dialect, but when he was speaking to the Mexican crew, he was thinking in Spanish, and then same way when he was talking to the whites, it was he was thinking in English, and so that's I can barely speak English, so it's
Yeah.
it's a lot.
I mean, we have levels of, like, you get your proficiency level after your, oral proficiency interview, which we have to take every year.
Mm-hmm.
And most of us kind of stay around like a 1+1+. And again, in English, you and I are speaking essentially like a 3-3 in English. Like, we can talk certain pieces, but we can't speak, at least not, I can't speak in formalized English and speak on an intelligent level when it comes to, economics and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And so that's where those ratings come from. But now, I mean, I have guys I work with that their brain just works like that. I have a couple guys that I work with, and they speak 3 separate languages, and they speak them, at a 2-2 level, 3-3 level, and that's just their brain connects those dots.
That's wild.
And they're able to, yeah. So, like, when you're talking about your buddy from high school, how he, can think in English, think in Spanish, dream in High German, and speak Low German, and all these things, he might just be one of those cats that, his brain connects those dots. Or at a very young age, because my daughter is, one of my daughters is 5, and she's learning Spanish right now, and she's almost to the point where she knows more Spanish than my wife and I.
Yeah.
And so I think instilling that at a younger age can, keep those receptors in the brain kind of firing in that direction to where you can, retain that information and in different ways. Where I was never taught a different language when I was younger. I mean, the first time I learned a language was in the Special Forces qualification course.
Yeah.
And I did not have an easy time.
I can imagine, dude. I see my oldest, my daughter, she had a Mexican lady that watched her when my wife went to teach school. And so she from an infant till she was about 3, I guess, 2, I suppose. But she was speaking, and she could conversate in both English and Spanish. And now that she's not just inundated by it all the time, she doesn't. So, like, my wife will teach her some Spanish here and there, but it's she doesn't speak, or she doesn't get just flooded with Spanish anymore. So it's I think you're 100% right. Like, the more you're around it, especially at an early age, it's like second nature.
Yeah, for sure.
And and then of course, we learned that with the whole mask nonsense is like, being able to see somebody's mouth move is a very important part of learning a language too.
Oh, I mean, facial expression is huge.
Mm-hmm.
It's huge, especially at that evolving age. I mean, 5 to 11.
Yeah.
At that, I mean, even in babies, being able to see, their mom's face and how it reacts to certain situations. Those are all big things.
Yeah.
Which again goes to, I mean, different cultures have different things they do with their face and different mannerisms and stuff like that. So that's another thing you have to learn. Like, just learning the language is one thing, but understanding how that language is spoken in what setting and who you're around is a completely different thing.
Yeah, culture is a huge thing. The U.S. government's kind of learned that the hard way many times, where it seems like we're really good at going in, blowing shit up, and taking a guy out, and then afterwards we're like, oh, I didn't realize there was this many underlying issues behind all this. You're like, oh, this is a whole different culture. They don't think like us at all.
Yeah, secondary and tertiary effects for sure are something. And again, that's why I love what I do,
Yeah,
because even in Afghanistan, it was we moved into a village, and unlike other units out there that would come and say, "Hey, we'd like to build you a well," and then they don't come back for a month.
yeah,
We would move into the village, and we'd be a part of the village, and just a part of that culture, a part of that community, and you get to know everybody around there and understand how it works. And I think that's why we're so effective.
yeah.
We're, like at any point in time, we can be turned into the hammer for sure. Like at any point in time,
Mm.
we have the ability to be the hammer that, smashes all things throughout a night. But where we really make our money is, kind of being that scalpel and being precise in our actions and precise in our efforts and doing the research and not just coming in, making a mess and leaving.
Yeah, for sure.
So,
I mean, that was kind of the because special forces like officially started in the 50s, right during the Korean War.
well, yeah, 1952. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, and then but they really kind of ramped things up during Vietnam. Of course, everything kind of got ramped up during Vietnam, but like MACV's SOG was the original like Green Beret group in Vietnam, and yeah, and you those guys did all the secret shit. I mean, they were in Cambodia, they were in Laos, probably in North Vietnam. Some I don't. It's another area of research I gotta go deep dive on some more. But it's yeah, it's wild. You guys but I guess you guys were I guess the tip of the spear for as far as unconventional warfare goes. But with unconventional warfare comes with training an indigenous fighting force, and that's yeah, that's a whole different thing. And there's a lot of trust building involved.
Yeah. Yeah. That's one of the key things you learn through our qualification course. And obviously, as you get going, the official, like, active date of the Special Forces was in June of 1952, which was 10th Group.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and then, we branched off, uh, into the separate groups, like throughout our history, but we can kind of trace our lineage back to the Second World War. Um,
Yeah,
and, we had the first Special Service Force and the OSS and stuff that the CIA was kind of built off of, but it has roots in, what we do, which is training, advising, working by, with, and through resistance force.
yeah, yeah. So like the OSS, that was the Jedburghs, right?
Yeah, yeah, during that time.
Yeah. So that and that was yeah, OSS being the precursor to the CIA. And there was a lot of like working with the French and Dutch resistance to sabotage shit behind in Nazi occupied Europe. And
Yeah, they were formed as an agency of the Joint Chiefs of Staff. It was kind of the first of their kind, and yeah, their real job was to essentially coordinate espionage activities behind enemy lines.
yeah,
For all U.S. armed forces. Through subversion, propaganda, and stuff like that.
yeah, and working real close with the Brits, who um, I mean, they might be the best at long term as well as far as espionage go. They've been at it for a while.
Oh, for sure.
Um, and of course the Russians too. I mean the U.S. Soviet spy games during the Cold War. I mean, it spawned how many movies and books, and it's fascinating stuff. Takes a takes a different sort of person to be in that immersed real deeply in that espionage stuff. It's a dirty world.
Oh, yeah, for sure. For sure. But I think that's kind of why we tie our lineage to the OSS and then the First Special Service Force. Because SF is kind of a mixture of both, if you will.
Yeah.
That's where the idea really sprang from. The First Special Service Force in itself, it was a joint force. It's an American-Canadian commando force, utilized in World War II.
Yeah.
So that's kind of where we draw our lineage from. And I think it's also cool that they were organized and then trained at Fort William Henry Harrison there in Helena, Montana.
Yeah. That's I've got an empty bottle of whiskey behind me from Willie's Distillery that was what was it called? The Devil's Brigade. In honor of that first Special Forces group. So it's I got inundated to that whole history here a couple of years ago, and it's just fascinating. I'm a history dude, so I like all that type of shit is just I'll soak it up like a sponge.
Yeah. I'm a big history fan. I just wish I could remember more. As I read, I don't know. You're in enough explosions and stuff like that it starts to get a little hard to remember.
I bet so.
Certain things that don't have to do with your everyday life.
I can imagine. And then the older you get, you start losing that as well. I always had kind of I don't know if it was exactly a photographic memory, but I had a good memory, but it was always for random, basically useless and everyday situations, historical facts or shit like that. I know a lot of stuff about a lot of stuff, but not a ton of it's useful.
Yeah.
And but it's as I get older, I've noticed that I remember hearing that from somewhere where I used to be able to recite it almost from memory, and now I'm just like, I don't even remember where I read that at. And
yeah, for sure.
I guess one of the other cool things about Special Forces, you guys get all the cool toys to play with too, or at least a lot of them, more so than your traditional big army.
Yeah, we have specialized equipment and stuff that we get issued, and some of it's great, some of it's depends on what mission you're attached with.
Yeah,
because with there being the separate groups and separate AORs, certain things we get that are, funded by Big Army goes to each group, and it might be helpful for one group, but then, not helpful for the other. So we do have some stuff that just kind of sits around, but overall we have more specialized equipment than the regular Army for sure.
Yeah. What's your favorite weapons platform?
Oh, that would have to depend on what I'm doing.
Okay, let's. All right, pistol. What's your favorite platform there?
So I'm gonna probably get some hate for this. At least I do on my Instagram page. But I used to be a Glock guy, and I don't put anything against Glock. I think Glock it's the AK-47 of handguns.
Mm-hmm.
You can beat the shit out of them. I ran one forever. I still own a bunch of them. But I have kind of converted to the SIG train.
Okay.
It's a better gun out of the box. And I think, honestly, we get issued Glock 19s.
Mm-hmm.
It was the all-around answer to we need a pistol, so they went with a subcompact. So for certain low-vis operations, that works. But for combat operations, I want a full-frame pistol.
Yeah.
And the only full-frame pistol we get issued is the M17, the SIG M17, so the P320. It's a P320. Or the Glock 19. And so I take the SIG. It's just a better platform for what we get issued.
It used to be a Beretta, didn't it? Was
Mm-hmm.
the standard is like a Beretta? Yep. Was it M9 or something?
Beretta in 1911
mm-hmm.
Is what used to be the standard issue. Most units got the Beretta. SF got 1911s and Berettas. And again, I think a lot of guys ran the 1911. It's a full frame gun. And back then, especially before all these advances in ammunition, 45 ACP was a better round. Now I could kind of argue the latter. I mean, 9 mil. 9 mil these days. 9 mil itself is a great round. Also, with my SIG, I can carry 21 rounds.
Oh,
Whereas
yeah.
those 1911s, you're carrying 6 and 1, or if you're lucky, you had a double stack and you're carrying 9 and 1 or 10 and 1.
Yeah, it's a bigger round, but a lot less capacity.
A lot less capacity, slower.
Yeah.
So I get it. And again, I'll probably get a lot of shade for this. That whole stopping power bit. There's a piece of that, but it's not the size of the round you're shooting something or someone with. It's where you're putting that round.
Right. Yeah.
So
Placement's the main thing.
it's the key.
So then let's go say like a short barrel rifle. What are you going with there?
I love 5.56.
Okay.
And again, I understand there's you have 300 blackout, and then they have, they're starting to drop down like 6mm arc, which is coming back, which I think is amazing that it's coming back because 6mm arc's been around for, I don't know, 80 years. So I think that, there are smaller weapon systems. I've used 5.56 for so long, and there's so many different variations of ammunition.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a fan of it. And now, I mean, I do have a couple 9mm setups for my house, which, they're smaller. They're still considered a pistol, but they're 9mm setups. And the only reason I have those is I have fully frangible rounds. Because 5.56, 5.56 frangible rounds, they'll still go through everything. I mean, they go through drywall.
Oh,
9mm just got a better chance of stopping. There's more surface area for that bullet to kind of dissipate. So the home defense setups are 9mm.
Well,
But 5.56 is just such a universal round.
yeah. Well, and it's a fast round too. So I mean, yeah, it's got like a lot of punching power, not so much like a stopping power, I guess. I like guns, but I'm not a gun guy. I have guns. I enjoy guns. I think they're important. Don't shoot as much as I should, but I'm not one of those guys that it's not my main area of interest. So like I've got buddies that could rattle off all sorts of all sorts of stats and facts and ballistics and I'm just like I like 223 or 5.56 and 9mm because it's everywhere and it's at times, most of the times it's everywhere and it's fairly cheap.
Yeah, and again, they're great rounds. No, it doesn't have the knockdown power, if you will, of 300 Win Mag or 308.
Yeah.
It especially once you get shorter barrels, then I mean, you start going under 14-inch barrels with 5.56. The bullet's already coming out of the gun less than, the kinetic energy you would want it to. I mean, less than if you were using the Taylor knockdown method of, you need 980 foot-pounds to take down, whatever you're shooting at, especially when it comes to humans. So a human medium, it's already coming out of the barrel. After you pass 14 inches, it's coming out of the barrel with maybe 700 foot-pounds of kinetic energy. Where we make that up with 5.56 is what that bullet does. It's terminal ballistics inside a medium, with it yawing, flipping around and stuff like that. Or if you have frangible ammunition and, that, kind of coming apart inside that medium, that's where you kind of make up for that. But also where you make up for that is getting, second, third, fourth shots off before someone gets off second, third, or fourth shot.
Right.
And it's lighter and I can carry a lot of it.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. yeah, the speed of the rounds going down range is, I mean, that's the whole reason that we conquered the Native Americans was the repeating rifle and the revolver. Um, Otherwise, yeah, the Indians were just better fighters than the U.S. Army was at the time.
Oh yeah,
Like not even real close comparison. They didn't have the weaponry, and then they got starved out. So it's I I forget who I was talking to the other day, and we were discussing wars, and like guns are important, but they're essentially useless if you don't have any bullets to put in them. And then if the guy shooting it is starving to death, he's not a very effective soldier that way either. So it's always comes down to who can make the most guns and ammunition and grow enough food to.
yeah, guns, ammunition, grow enough food, and then if you have equal matches there, it's who's better trained.
Yep. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And
Who understands ballistics? Who understands their holdovers and stuff like that? Holdovers, hold unders, what that bullet's doing in flight, what it'll do through a wall, a sandbag, and stuff like that. And then obviously coordinating elements to that training goes all the way from being able to pick your gun up and shoot it accurately to how do I maneuver, these elements on a battlefield. It goes all the way up the chain.
Yeah, for sure. It's like war is fascinating. I love reading about it. It's a horrible business, but it's part of mankind. The sad part of it is it war happens, and it always has. And but it's fascinating reading. Like, I mean, that was the big part of Sherman's March to the Sea, was to just break the back of the Confederacy and starve them out, essentially. Just and it was like,
Yeah.
it was the Mormons' battle plan too. Is if they got over, they got invaded by the U.S. Army, and they were able to, if they were going to attack the state of Deseret at the time, it was burn everything in front of you and head to the hills. Don't leave a single grain of wheat for them to eat.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, Mongolian horde, they salted everything.
Right. Yeah. What was that Greek battle in North Africa where they salted the earth? I can't remember of it right offhand, but yeah, same thing. Salt the earth, and they had wipe them out completely. And,
yeah, what was that? I can't remember it either.
Yeah, I know you know what I'm talking about, but I it's right on the tip of my head, but I can't. I want to say Sardinia, but I know it's not. But that's what's popping in my head. But it's right there, like maybe Libya, somewhere in that area.
Yeah. Well, I know, like, Scipio sacked Carthage.
Carthage, yeah.
Yeah. In 140, what was that? 140 something BC. And he did the whole, salted the earth, guaranteed nothing will grow type of deal.
Yep.
Yeah,
that's what Hitler planned to do to Moscow, but well, he started too late. I'm I'm in the middle of a Adolf Hitler biography, and it's funny. You can kind of see where the meth really took over, and he was like, "We're fighting everywhere, we're fighting everyone." And
I bet, yeah.
It's funny. Like, that guy was actually fairly brilliant early on, and then you learn about all the meth that they had him hopped up on, meth and hormones and who knows what all else. But it's not real surprising when you find out all the shit going on behind the scenes, how things disintegrated for Nazi Germany. I mean, they looked invincible there for a minute, and then not so much.
Yeah.
It's
I mean, just a madman.
Yeah, really was. I mean, there's a reason why people study him, constantly since he came to power. Like, they've constantly studied that guy, because he's just a fascinating character, a madman, possibly possibly brilliant, and also just incredibly fucked up ideology. Just incredibly fucked up. But
yeah, terrible,
yeah,
terrible. I mean,
yeah, it's kind of wild. Well, really wild, but I guess enough about the military side of things. Where'd you grow up at?
so I grew up in Iowa.
Okay, whereabouts?
The Midwest, Northeast Iowa, Waterloo.
Okay, my sister and brother-in-law live in Winterset. They've been there for quite a while now.
Okay.
He was flying. They're both pilots. They met in flight school, and then he took a job with one of Warren Buffett's company, flying a private jet, and then they left Iowa for a couple of years, and he tried the bush pilot thing in Alaska for a minute, but he's way too regimented to do the bush pilot stuff. Like he was getting to where he was refusing. Like, now you can't take all of this. It's not, the weight distribution's off, all that, and so it didn't work out there. I think he was too late to the game for the bush pilot gig, but they moved back to Iowa, and they really like it there. I've never been back there, but I've heard it's nice.
Yeah, it's a great place to grow up where, Colorado, Montana, Wyoming have ranches. We have farms.
Yeah.
So kind of the same business. My aunt and uncle have a farm. My cousins are farmers. So they're on, there's no such thing as a weekend. And anytime I've tried to get them to come out here, we've had them out a couple times. But, they always got to get someone to watch the cows, watch the pigs.
Yeah.
Kind of look after everything, make sure everything gets fed and all that anytime they leave. So
yeah, it's kind of funny. The farther back east you get, the smaller and like more diverse the farming operations get, because you get out west, particularly like the Rockies and west, it's typically pretty big outfits, because it takes a lot of land to run a cow out here. But that's pretty much what they do. They'll put up some hay to feed their cows, but they only farm so they can feed their cows in the winter. And then you get back in like I said, I'm not real familiar with Iowa, but in like Missouri and Kentucky and Tennessee, in that area, you get farm, like row crop and cattle and hogs, and farther south you go, you get into the poultry stuff, and then they've got their hands in a lot. Got a few more irons in the fire on a considerably smaller spread.
Yeah, for sure. Sure.
That comes with moisture too.
Yeah. Yeah. The Midwest in itself, especially Iowa, is completely fertile ground. So
yeah,
you gotta go grow crops there. And so
you got to. That's what
my aunt and uncle are, wheat, soy, corn, and they have cows, they have beef. I have a freezer full of their cattle and their pigs.
Nice.
And then my godfather's chickens. So
there you go.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
Grew up, slaughtering chickens and all that.
Yeah, it's a good way to live. You know where your food's coming from that way, and that's an important thing we're starting to find out.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. That, and my parents have always been the type that we'll get food from the farmer's market before we'll get it from the grocery store.
Yeah.
Which, has always been nice.
Yeah, it's funny how like agricultural people will talk shit on hippies all the time, but when you come down to it, like, we're pretty damn hippie-ish. I'm very savvy to the labeling thing, so like everything's labeled organic nowadays, and it doesn't really mean anything. But like when you know where the stuff is grown and who's growing it and produces it for you, it makes a big difference. It's I don't know. I'm glad to see the market trend headed that way. I think the ag community's got a little too complacent on how they grow crops, and we're learning like maybe our farming practices ain't quite the best. I was going to ask you, is it true about the food over in Europe being just like better quality in general?
Oh, 100%.
I was.
Now it really depends
Mhm.
because, like I said, I eat my uncle's beef and my uncle's pork, and my wife is very adamant about where we get, any of our vegetables and stuff like that. So, but by and large, yes, it's better. I mean, the McDonald's in itself is better. They don't allow the grade F meat that we have here, or whatever it is. So you go
Mhm.
over there and it tastes different. Like a burger is actually a burger,
Yeah,
um,
yeah.
and
It's weird
yeah, all,
how.
all around it's just better because it's regulated a lot more to
Mhm.
where there is. And I mean, even if you get a box of Fruit Loops here and a box of Fruit Loops there, and you look at the ingredients are completely different.
Mhm. Yeah, they don't put the high fructose corn syrup and stuff over there, and I think they banned GMOs as well, which I could probably get into some shit with some of the farmers that listen, but I'm not sold that the GMOs are safe. I've heard they're safe. That's what they've always told us, but then I don't know, like you go through, I went through college and you see who some of the big sponsors of all these ag universities are, and it's like Monsanto and
Yeah,
Tyson and like the big, it's like it is with everything else. The big corporations get involved and shit gets pretty shady.
yeah, yeah. I hate that, like the antibiotics and everything like that all falls under that category.
Yeah,
That that kind of makes me upset because I mean, if you got a cow and it's got an eye infection,
yeah,
like I want to give it antibiotics so it fixes that eye infection. That cow is suffering from an eye infection.
right.
Like just because, here in a year, like we're going to turn that cow into hamburgers doesn't mean I don't want it to have a prosperous life while it's here before it continues to give my family a prosperous life in the form of food. But now I have to skate a line,
Yep.
like my uncle's talked to me about this and he's like, I have to skate this line of, do I give this cow antibiotics? Because now it doesn't fall under the non-GMO, non-antibiotics, and
Hmm.
falls under that banner. It's just because it's spread so wide now.
Yeah, and
So I disagree with it to a point, but I also agree with it to a point.
no, you're 100% correct on that, and a lot of that comes from the confined animal operations, and particularly the hogs and the chickens. The chickens or the poultry in general, like those big chicken farms it's a whole different world there, and but they feed them
Yep.
antibiotics, every day because of the confined space. Cattle are a little different. I mean, even in a feedlot, you feed them. Uh, you feed supplements so that they don't bloat. It helps with their rumen, the microbes in their rumen. You're not really feeding the cow. You're feeding the bugs in their gut. Is essentially how
Right.
the rumen
Right.
animal works. And so when they come off of grass, you gotta ease them into a high energy diet, which I mean it's a lot like humans too. I mean, if you come from like a clean healthy diet where you're eating a lot of whole foods that are produced, the so-called right way, and then you go and you eat McDonald's 3 meals a day for a month. I mean, that first couple of days, you're gonna just,
They'll destroy you.
yeah. I mean, you just wreck your gut, wreck your plumbing, and yeah, it's the same concept.
Yeah.
Their digestive system works a little different. Few more
That's
steps.
that's why I eat. That's why I eat fast food at least once a month,
There you
or
go.
at least once a week. Excuse me. I get fast food in at least once a week.
What's your go-to?
Oh man, we were in the team room. What was it? 2 days ago, and we were talking because I showed up with Chick-fil-A breakfast sandwiches,
Oh shit!
and yeah, that question got asked. It's like, what's your go-to? And I was like, God damn, that's a hard decision
It really
because
is.
it's good, and of course, one of the guys from the other team. So I mean, he's an absolute fucking unit. He is a force to be reckoned with. But he eats very clean. He, controls like his, the whole macro micro thing and all that. And I mean, good for him. I am. We have a dietitian assigned to 10th Special Forces group, and she had asked me because we've been running blood tests and stuff like that. I've been doing this for 17 years, and so I'm at the point now where it's like, hey, we need to look at like how you're doing.
Right.
And she was asking what my diet is, and I tell her I run a Midwest diet.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's a lot of meat, a lot of vegetables, casseroles, and yeah, I eat fast food once, maybe twice a week. But yeah, he had made a comment of, he wishes he could eat something like that. I told him he needs to. I had a buddy who, he died 6 times on the table. So we were in an explosion.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, he died 6 times, like on the table. And he was like, hey, you know what you're thinking about when you're dying? And I was like, well, hey, I'm going to assume like your family and stuff like that. He's like, well, yeah. You think about all that, but what you really think about? And I'm like, I'm going to go back to my previous answer of your family. He's like, no, dude, you think about that fucking chocolate cake you didn't eat. He's like, you don't think about that last rep or the mile you didn't run. He's like, you think about that fucking cake you should have ate. And I was like, okay, I understand what you're putting out. So it's like it's a 2-part thing with me, because it's like, I'm going to enjoy the food I eat. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm up at 4 and I'm to the gym by 6, 5:36, and I still work out and I still work my ass off, and most of the guys do. But we're going to treat ourselves every now and again. But there is something to be said, because that guy, when we get into country, is, I mean, almost not operational for a week. Yeah, because he's not used to eating this. Like his gut is not used to a diverse, amount of, I mean, really poison.
Yeah.
Depending on what kind of food you get, but it's not used to that, and we don't always. Well, honestly, we never have the luxury. I'll say I've had a few trips of having the luxury of like really controlling my diet, but normally, diet and sleep kind of go out the window.
Right.
So I make the excuse of eating fast food of, hey, I'm just keeping my gut ready for the next trip. I know it's not the right answer, but
it makes sense to me.
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. It's Midwest math, So
yeah,
that's what it is to me.
They have an In-N-Out in Denver nowadays, don't they?
Well, they have them down here in the Springs.
Do they really? Huh.
Yeah, they pull one up in the spring. I mean, shit, the first 2 months that it was open, there was a line for a mile for that thing.
I believe it. There's one in Reno that I used to well, my wife had a house in Reno that we were doing some work on when I moved out here, and so when I was driving back and forth, I'd stop in at In-N-Out, and they're very quick, but it is the lines are always huge. Just that place is good though. It's but it's also it's an old school place too, and it's it's very simple ingredients and for the most part, pretty good quality ingredients for a fast food joint, anyways.
Yeah, that's what I understand, that they only source from, like, the beef is local.
Yeah, Harris Ranch
Uh,
beef, which the place I work for now, we used to feed a lot of cattle for them, and yeah, they have to meet a certain program and everything, and but it's like it's kind of a West Coast regional packing giant, if you want to call it that. They're
okay.
pretty big operation, but they're pretty much exclusively like California, Nevada, Oregon, the West Coast area.
Okay. Okay. That makes sense. I will say I don't really care for their fries.
The fries
I've
are
been
not the
there.
best.
Yeah, I've been there a couple times, and I do. I like the joint. I like, on the bottom of their cups they got like John 3:16
Mm,
or other verses that that kind of gets me jazzed up.
hell yeah.
Uh, but and I've had like the 4x4 animal style, you name it, and
Mm,
it's been great. But yeah, the fries are
yeah.
they you know they need to improve. Everything else sustained.
Right. I think you're 100% correct there. The fry I order the fries, but I always order them animal style because the fries themselves are not that great.
Oh, I didn't know you could do that.
Hmm. Yeah, animal style
Oh,
fries is the way to go.
I didn't see. I have no idea.
Um, so what's I guess Culver's would probably be the big Midwest kind of smaller burger chain, huh?
Yeah, it is. I I'm not a fan of custard.
Yeah.
You
Okay.
know, so I'm a big ice cream guy. I'm
Um,
lactose intolerant, but I'll still suck it up if the milkshake's good enough. You know what I'm saying?
hell yeah. Um, can you get raw milk there in Cal or in Colorado?
In Colorado? Oh, I'm sure you can.
I'm sure you can. I don't know if it's technically legal or not, but um, I've
Is that a thing that's illegal?
yeah, for the most part it is.
Really?
Yeah, yeah. So like all the milk
Okay.
in the stores is pasteurized,
Yeah, for sure.
and yeah, for some, well, the dairy industry is heavily subsidized too, so a lot of government regulation, and that's one of the weird things about like the EU versus the US. Like we have a lot of regulations, but it's like the wrong regulations. The stuff that they should be encouraging, like whole foods, raw milk, locally sourced, meat and vegetables, like that stuff's pretty hard to like make a living at it because it's just so regulated out the ass. But you can dump a bunch of herbicide and pesticide on conventional crops willy nilly, and that just kind of breezes right through.
Yeah, it's not system for sure.
Yeah, it's and like raw milk falls under that, and I've never been a big milk drinker. I'm a dairy product guy. Like I love ice cream, cheese, all that good stuff. But I wasn't like just drink a glass of milk type of guy. So I didn't care so much about milk. But we had a milk cow growing up for a while, and the milk was better for sure. I mean, we just skimmed the cream off and just drank it straight out of the right out of the udder for the most part, and it is better. It's, I mean, it's just a richer product, but I don't know.
Okay.
It's
Yeah.
it's funny as the stuff that we grew up on, like the food pyramid and shit. You're like, oh, they just made us obese. They told us eat this and you'll be good. Now, no, everybody's fat.
Well, yeah. Well, I mean, me growing up, it was country crock
Hmm.
margarine
Yeah,
because it's better than butter. and then you come to figure out it's actually way worse.
Way worse, yeah. And like
Butter's the way to go.
Yeah, butter is one ingredient, maybe two if you get the salted kind. But other than that, it's just
Right.
cream, and that's it. And same way with like the meat alternative, fake meat stuff that they're putting out. Like the Beyond Beef. It's it's like a 2-page list of just shitty ingredients where hamburger is muscle and fat. That's it.
Yeah. I don't. These are things I don't understand, especially coming from, a family that has cattle and pig, and I've never understood it. I don't hate on anybody. I don't have time for that.
Yeah.
You can eat whatever the hell you want to eat. I don't care. I have friends. I have a couple friends who are vegans, stuff like that. And, I talk to them about it, and thankfully they're like, no, we understand we're vegan. We're not trying to pretend to eat anything we can't eat. And like, they actually look into what goes into certain things that, they put in their mouth. And so I've never understood why you would want, it's like, hey, if you're going to go that route, go that route. I don't grasp why people want to try and kind of fake the funk of, well, speaking of which, me and a buddy of mine, we were working on a video project for 10 Special Forces Group. It was kind of an initiative that I had put together because the way we were recruiting, I felt like it was wrong. And so I wanted to put a video out. And so, I made sure certain elements of the command were okay with it. And we brought in a buddy of mine that I grew up with. I mean, I grew up, skating with, hanging out with. He was a close friend of mine, still a close friend of mine. Lives in LA now, but he's a film producer.
Mm-hmm.
And brought him out to help make this video. It's on YouTube. It's called The Why. And
Okay.
It's just like a 10 Special Forces Group video. Really, it's just about Special Forces in general. A little 2.5 minute video.
WHY?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So WHY, or The Why is what it's called. I'm sure if you just search The Why, use Special Forces, it'll come up. But we were driving from Colorado up to Montana because our winter warfare detachment runs courses in Montana and stuff like that. And this one, we stopped in Ridgeway, Colorado for a bit, and then went up to Montana. And on the way up to Montana, you got to drive through Salt Lake. So we went through this vegan diner, but he didn't tell me it was a vegan diner. He just said, hey, we're going to go here. We're going to eat some food. And I was like, okay, awesome. We stop at the diner. I look at the menu, and it's got normal menu things on it. And one of them was like a Jamaican chicken jerk or Jamaican jerk chicken burrito. And I was like, well, that sounds interesting. And I asked the waitress, I was like, hey, like, are we talking like spicy Jamaican chicken or just jerk chicken with some spices on it? And then she was like, well, it's not chicken. And I was like, what do you mean it's not? What? She's like, that's what it tastes like. And I was like, and I looked at him and I'm like, are we in a vegan restaurant? He's like, yeah, we're in a vegan restaurant. I was like, okay, I am not trying to insult anybody here. Why wouldn't you just call it what it is?
Right.
Like, why say Jamaican jerk chicken if it's not chicken? Just tell me what it is. Because I still ordered it.
Yeah.
And it was still absolutely delicious. It was great. I mean, they use beans and stuff like that for the protein and all that. It was still really good. But I still can't grasp why you don't just call it what it is.
Right. Or if you want chicken, just get over the fact that you're eating an animal and eat chicken. Like it's fine to do that. Outside of the vegan community, nobody is going to look down on you. And I guess most of the vegans don't even care. But no, it's always the loud assholes that ruin it for everybody. And
I think there's a loud minority out there.
Yeah, you
but
have
that quiet majority has made themselves known a couple times. For sure.
And I don't know, there it goes. You mentioned the scripture verses on the In and Out cups, and so I assume you grew up in church and whatnot. And like I was talking to my kids, and the typical eat your damn food thing, and of course my son, I being a guy that raises cattle and beef. I want him to be a meat eater, carnivore type. Like I tried going carnivore I made it about 10 days. I'd like to. I think I'm gonna try it again and do a full month. I was not prepared at how it is so damn easy to make a sandwich, and you're like, well, I'm not supposed to be eating bread, but a sandwich would just.
That and carnivore will mess your guts up for a little bit.
It will. It takes. It took me about 3 days for it to adjust to where I was having normal shits again. But yeah, there for a while, it gets a little ugly.
Yeah.
But the food's not the problem. It's eating the food's not the problem. It's laying off of the other stuff, and then getting your gut adjusted to it.
Yeah, that was kind of my thing, and it's easy for me to make a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. Like if I feel like I need to eat something,
Yeah.
like I'll crush a banana and eat a peanut butter and jelly sandwich, and I'm good to go.
Yeah, exactly.
But with like the carnivore, it's like if I don't have jerky or something standing by, and I mean maybe it's a lack of dietary discipline or something, but I just when I want some food, especially as much as I work, and I mean when we deploy, there's no chance like that I'm getting an all meat diet. There's no chance.
No, not a prayer. I mean, you're eating MREs, and that's pretty much it.
Yeah, well, yeah, in certain spots, but I mean even in I've been in 42 countries.
Oh shit.
And yeah. So, and even in those countries, like you can still, again, a lot of those countries, you can get meat and stuff like that. But if it's something quick, meat alone doesn't fill me up. Like I've tried a couple separate diets. Our old dietitian at 10th Group, when I was trying paleo, we were running a course, and about 5 days into this paleo diet, she looked at me. She's like, "You don't look good." I was in the gym, and I was like, "No, I don't feel good. I'm intermittent fasting, and I'm doing paleo." And she's like, "What are you doing right now?" I'm like, "Well, we're running a course, like Special Forces Advanced Urban Combat course." And she's like, "You were at such a deficit. If that's what you're doing, you don't have that leisure to have that diet." She's like, "I'm sorry, but you work out for 2 hours in the morning, and then you wear body armor for 6 more hours running around and, doing CQB and urban movement and all these things." She's like, you're at such a deficit. Like, you're going to just pass out on the range. So you can't do that.
Eat some bread, dude. Eat some bread.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. That's what she told me. She's like, you need to be crushing granola bars and like eating peanut butter jelly sandwiches when you can. Cause she knew me. So she knew that's kind of my thing.
Yeah.
But she's like, you don't have the luxury to be doing that, my man.
Say that I noticed that too on when like I said, I only made it about, I was like 10 or 12 days on carnivore, but and I don't work near as strenuously as you do, but like I'm up usually like 4:30 or 5 every morning. I try to do like some yoga or something before I'm like push-up, sit-ups, yoga before I get out the house. And then
there you go.
And then I'm then I'm a horseback for the most part, and I may eat lunch, I may not. I typically don't eat breakfast in the morning because I just don't get up early enough to cook. And after a while, like, and then I come home and work out, and like I'm just I feel like I could eat an entire cow, and I'll eat a whole pile of. I eat there's a ton of meat. and then I'd still just be starving, and like the only thing I could think of is like I need some chips, I need a piece of bread or something, is carbs.
Yeah, for sure.
And
just
and,
that energy source.
Yeah.
I understand, but everybody works different when it comes to diet.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's just what it is. Like I have friends who are vegan and it works for them. Like they look great, they operate great, like they're fine,
mm-hmm.
and that's awesome. I got buddies that do keto, and that's what works for them.
Right.
And I think what works for me is being able to crush a sandwich. When I need quick food, I get a bag of chips and a sandwich, and I get right back after it.
Yeah. So I did that 75 hard challenge. It was actually like right after we met. I got back home and I started that, and so like my diet aspect, I cut out bread for the most part. I think I had two or three different days where I had sandwich. So I guess I didn't technically complete the challenge, but it was and I felt really good. I still ate pasta and stuff, but for the most part I just cut out bread. But I still ate a lot of vegetables and pasta and whatnot. And like my wife loves bread. She'll eat bread with every meal, and I'm not. I'm more of like if it's a sandwich or like we're waiting on a meal at a restaurant, I'll eat bread. But for the most part, I don't like. I'm not a. It's kind of like drinking milk. I like bread. I love dairy, but it's not my go-to. I'm I'm more of a like snack wise. I'm more like chips and salsa or cheese and salsa.
Oh, there you go.
When I was a bachelor, I just get a block of that of like the Colby Longhorn cheese and just knock off a chunk of that and dip it in salsa.
Oh man, there you go.
It's not a bad bachelor snack, I'll tell you that. The women tend to frown upon it for some reason or whatever. I guess it just you look like a disgusting dude, but I'm a big fan of it.
Yeah, I mean you could always be more disgusting.
That's
could
true.
Be dipping wings in some ranch that's in your belly button or something.
Right.
Weird like that. I don't know.
I hate
like, hey, I clean the kitchen and I put the toilet seat down. Like I'm gonna fucking crush this cheese and salsa.
Yeah, I am not on meth, all right? So be happy.
Yeah, exactly. You gotta start the bar really low.
Yep, exactly. I've learned that throughout the years is set expectations low and then wow them with mediocrity.
There you go. There you
go. So speaking of mediocrity, I started. So I started up working out regularly because we've been really slow the last couple of years with the weather cycle. We went from pretty extreme drought and a lot of people sold off their herds and the cow numbers are way down. And then we got a ton of moisture, and so with the moisture came a lot of feed outside. And then with the current global economic geopolitical situation, feed prices have skyrocketed due to inputs and whatnot. And so all that to say, like, we've been really slow the last couple of years, and I got pretty complacent, little chubby, and so it was kind of, I'd already made up my mind to do that challenge thing, and then I was hanging out with you guys and Jeremiah that weekend, and I'm just like, God damn, I'm a fatty. I'm around a bunch of operators that are I know you guys could bust off 5 miles real quick if you needed to, and so I was like, I can do better than where I'm at now. All that being said, to say, like, what's kind of your go-to workout routine for like your I'm sure you rotate through muscle groups and whatnot, but like what's like if you had to just knock out a quick workout, what are you doing?
Man, it really depends. Right now, because I've had a couple knee surgeries in the last year and a half. Um, so I've again turned into kind of an upside down triangle. Not a lot of lower body, not a lot of cardio, upper body, and because I have to keep in the gym, but I think a go-to is, well, honestly, what my go-to is your like classic Globo Gym style workout, just targeting a muscle group and working out that muscle group because it's the most fun.
Yeah.
You get the most out of it when it comes to looking at yourself in the mirror. Like you get a pump and it's like, man, I look pretty good. But realistically, like what my workouts look out right now, because I'm trying to increase cardio and agility and all that. It's a lot of it's circuit-esque, if you will, like three things back to back to back with a break, and then three things back to back to back, and then I'll go to the next thing. So one, it might be doing push-ups, bands, and then farmer's carries, with weight.
Yeah.
And then it'll move to a bench press pull down. So it'll be kind of a push-pull deal. And we have strength coaches at 10th Group. Shout out to those guys. Because they work their ass off. We have strength coaches there, and one of them has me on a program, but I'm running 20 to 30 minutes every day. And it's not, only one of those runs sucks. Like, the other runs are like in a zone 2 cardio to where, and zone 2 cardio, depending on who you are, it's like your heart rate at 125 to 135 beats per minute. And there's some days for me where, that's walking fast.
Yeah.
Because it just depends on where I'm at. I live at 8,400 feet and Fort Carson's down at 6,200 feet. So it really just depends. But, and as much as I hate those workouts, because especially ending in cardio, I'm not built for cardio. Like I'm 5'9" in good boots,
Yeah.
So I am not built for cardio. I think my ancestry goes back to building someone else's castle. I'm built for lifting up rocks and putting them somewhere else.
Yeah.
That's kind of what I'm built for. But after those workouts, I feel great. Like
Yeah.
they suck while you're doing them, and you feel great afterwards. So I would think that anybody, when it comes to a workout, no matter what level you're at, like if it sucks a little bit, not sucks a lot, sucks a little bit while you're doing it, and afterwards you feel great, then you're probably doing the right thing.
Yeah, I've noticed that too. And if you got like a good, like if you're sore the next day, but like you can still move around, like that's a good workout.
Yeah, that's the ticket. You feel those muscle groups you worked out the day prior, or even second day after that, is kind of when I'm the source, is 2 days after I do a workout. But you're still mobile, and you can go about your everyday life without someone helping you down onto the toilet seat. Then you're doing the right thing.
Yeah, for sure. What sports you played growing up?
So I did kind of everything.
Nice.
Growing up, we did soccer, baseball, hockey, football, basketball. Once we got to high school, wrestling, Iowa. You have to wrestle if you're in Iowa. You have to. The difference is I didn't have wrestling mats in my basement, so I wasn't very good. I would consider myself an okay wrestler, but again, I wasn't good at all. I think my 8th grade year, I was 0-9.
Oof, yeah.
Because my weight class was a normal weight class. Yeah, I think it was like 120 or something like that, but normal weight class. But again, you're going against guys who would get out of wrestling practice, go home, eat nothing but, meat and pasta and vegetables, and then wrestle with their dads in the basement until 9 and go to bed.
Yeah.
So when I hit high school, I had a choice because the seasons are the same of football, wrestling, hockey, and I've been playing hockey since I was 3. So,
Okay.
I stayed with hockey.
Nice. We didn't have hockey. School I went to, I graduated. I was one of 19 in my class, so it was real 1A school, and we had football, basketball, baseball, track. That was as far as the boys' sports go. That was all we had. The girls had volleyball, basketball, track, and they didn't even have a softball team. So it was fairly limited. And then wrestling. I wrestled. I wrestled in junior high, and then I wrestled my senior year. And like I wasn't very good in junior high. I was okay, and then in high school I realized, I actually might have been good at this if I had started 10 years ago and kept at it. Because I was one match away from making state as a senior, and I hadn't wrestled since 8th grade. And I love the mentality of wrestling too. Like there's not a lot of, I mean, there's a handful of like super cocky, arrogant dudes, but for the most part, even the guys that are elite wrestlers got their ass kicked coming up. So there's just a humility about that sport in general.
For sure.
Everybody's pretty respectful, because if you're not respectful, you're going to get thrashed. And
Yep.
there's nothing that sucks worse in a sport than just having a dude's nuts in your face and you can't get out of it.
There's nothing you can do about it.
It's the worst.
Yep.
As a civilian, anyways, it's the worst feeling possible for competitive sports, anyways. At that level, until you get into, the higher level combat sports, but not that wrestling's not high level, but like higher impact, I suppose, when you're actually
for sure. And what's even worse about that is that dude looks like he works at Conoco.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
You're doing your best to just look like an absolute unit, and this dude who, looks like he prints paper for another dude, like it's just tossing you around like you're nothing.
Yeah. It's wild.
Yeah, it's a little bit demoralizing.
It's funny. So one of my really good friends growing up, Teed Hancock, he's what we call retard strong, country strong. Just he's like 5'9", 5'10". I think he wrestled 165 when we were in high school, but that dude was just a tank. Like just could crush a guy's hand. Would beat guys 3 times his size in an arm wrestling contest. It was just a tank. And that'll get you a long ways early on in wrestling, but as you go along, the harder it gets, the higher the competition, and people just get weeded out. And I saw him just get manhandled by a nerdy fucking looking kid, and I'm just like, God, I know how strong Teed is, and that dude just ragdolled him. And it's like, holy shit, man! There's levels to this shit.
Oh yeah. These books don't match the cover,
No, it's wild. And now that like MMA has taken off so much, like you got to be pretty sure of yourself before you get in a bar fight nowadays. Like you might end up choked out real quick if you pick the wrong fight.
Yeah, I think throughout my experience when it comes to bar fights, I've always picked the wrong fight. Even when I didn't pick them, it was the wrong one. I don't think anybody wins in a bar fight, but when it comes down to who lost, I was definitely the dude who lost.
I was pretty fortunate. I think my last like actual fight was a little dude that picked a fight with me, and I'm not very big, but he was $120 soaking wet or something like that. Wrestler, like he was, you could tell he was a wrestler. He blew smoke in my face multiple times, and then I pushed him, and he kind of like cartwheeled over a pool table, and then immediately went for a double leg, and I was just lucky that I had wrestled enough to where it was still and I was out of high school, but it was still fresh enough in my muscle memory where the sprawl came immediately, and then I just kind of laid on him because I'm not much of a bar fighter, I suppose. I will if I have to, but I'm there to drink beer and have fun. So it was kind of it was hit him in the gut, knock his air out, and like, all right, I'm done whenever you are. I don't particularly care to fight, mostly because I was in a bar in a little tiny town in Montana, and I didn't know anybody except the dude that I worked with that came with me. And I didn't want to go to jail, and I didn't want to just get my ass beat by 30 people either. So
yeah, I was about to say the whole bar turns against you.
Luckily, the guy I was with, he knew he'd worked with a guy from one of the ranches around there. And that guy was just like, "Hey, as long as you're not doing anything dirty, fight it out. There's no cops here." And I was like, "But I don't care to fight. Like, I don't have anything. I mean, I'm starting to have something against this dude, but I really don't care less. I don't want you to blow smoke in my face, and I'd appreciate you stop talking shit. But even then, until it goes too far, I just don't care to fight. We're getting ready to start cabin season, and I'm not going to be in town for a couple months, so I just as soon drink some beer and have a fun time. But we eventually, he bought me a shot of whiskey later on, and it all worked out good. But my fighting career went out on a high note, so I was happy about that. I was always, I guess, smart enough not to pick a fight that I didn't think I could win.
Yeah, that's the ticket. Is being smart enough not to pick a fight, or being smart enough to get your way out of a fight, for sure. I mean, in my younger days, especially when I was in Ranger Battalion, there were times that we go out and you kind of try to pick a fight. I don't know. It's just something you do in your younger years.
Well,
you try to pick a fight.
Especially you're around a bunch of, high level soldiers, but being in Ranger group, like that's not quite the cream of the crop, but it's right up there. And
for sure. When it comes to who's cream of the crop, who's not, when it comes down to, if you need something destroyed, completely destroyed, on fire, nothing left overnight, you're calling the Rangers. That's just who you're calling. They're phenomenal at it.
Yeah.
That's what we did. Everything was DA raid. That's just what we did. But what was nice, because when you are out with a group of guys like that, you kind of have this invincible feeling about yourself.
Yeah.
But we had a rule that if you're going to start shit, it is on you. It's 100% on you. Now, if a bunch of people jump into this thing, then the whole crew's getting in and dancing on faces. But it was on you, and that evened it out, because there were a couple people. I was that guy one time where I started some shit, and everybody just kind of looked at me. Looked at them like, "You guys got my back," and they just kind of looked at me like, "Dude, you're starting shit. This is on you, brother. This is grown man shit." Like, no, you started shit. You're either going to finish it or you get your fucking ass kicked. And dude kicked me straight in the face and put me out, and I came to with, my wife over me and my buddy, like, did you learn your lesson?
How did that feel?
Yeah. So I unfortunately, I have a face that people want to punch. I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's my mannerisms or what it is. I've had guys on teams that I've told that to, and 3 years later, a buddy of mine, Mo, who I've been on a team with, for 3 years, we were at a bar in Germany, and a random guy, he was one of the bouncers at this bar, turned me around, started yelling at me in German, and Mo speaks German, fluently. He's one of those guys, he speaks really good German.
Mm-hmm.
He had lived there for quite a while, but he after he got done talking to that guy, the guy in English looks at me and he says, "Watch yourself," and then he walks off. And then he turns around, he's like, "You're not kidding. Like, guys just want to fight you." I was there with, like, 3 of the guys on my team and my wife. And I was just standing there with my wife. And we were just having drinks. I said nothing to anybody that I didn't know. And this guy turns me around. I mean, I've been punched by guys I've never said a word to. And I don't know.
I've been in a couple of situations like that. It's not a a real recurring thing with me, but it seemed like when I spent right after I graduated college, I moved up to Montana for a couple months and worked on a ranch up there. And every time I went to the bar there, I didn't know anybody. Like I said, it was I was there with a guy I worked with, and that was it. And I'm pretty outgoing for the most part, but if I'm in a situation like that, I don't typically initiate conversations too much. I'm also a big people watcher. I just like to sit back and watch a crowd. And but for whatever reason, there was an old man that was talking shit on my hat, and was like, I think this guy might want to go. And he was a big old burly fella. He was old, but it was one of those ones where, like, I don't know if I can take one of those to the chin. He's a big dude. And then there was a little bitty dude that I could have. I mean, I could have really beat the shit out of that dude if I wanted to. And then there was another big guy that, it was funny. He was double fisting whiskey cokes and kept bumping into me and then telling me to get over myself because it was a crowded bar. And there was nobody around me until you crashed into me. And then I was like, "Are you planning on drinking both of those?" And, well, yeah. That face is wide open, amigo. That face is wide open.
Yeah.
But he was also a pretty big dude, and he's also drunk, so that could go one of two ways. He could go out or could just piss him off. So once again, I don't feel like getting my ass kicked by 30 Montanans, so I'm gonna find my buddy and get the fuck out of here. Yeah,
it's dangerous playing those games because, like you said, you have no idea who you're dealing with.
None whatsoever.
You have no clue. You have no idea what that dude's day has been like.
Yep.
Like, how far is this dude willing to go? Because to you, it might just be, all right, you're disrespecting me, so I'm a grown-ass man, you're a grown-ass man, we're just going to scrap. But maybe that guy has a different idea of how his evening should go.
Maybe he caught his old lady in bed with a dude that looked like me. I don't know.
Yeah. Who? Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Who knows? So,
and I don't know. I could tell I got at least one good shot. That, I mean, it's wide. Like I said, he's got both of his hands full of liquor. So I got one shot for sure. But I don't know how that's gonna go. I'm not the biggest dude. I'm not the strongest dude, and that dude was pretty stout. So chances are he's gonna, he looked like he could take a punch, and so that one shot might be all you get before you just get pummeled. So,
until he laughs at you and throws you through a wall.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. And then then could be 30 of his buddies jump on you too, and you're like, no, I'm gonna avoid that. Yeah,
that's not something you want to get into. I will. My wife has made me. I mean, she started this a long time ago, but she started making me carry a mouth guard.
Oh,
with me.
There you go.
Because she's like, guys just want to fight you, and she's like, you're not a guy that back down from fights, so you need to take a mouth guard. And I will say that's the best idea she's ever given me, because since then, I've had a couple, like, little, I won't even call them fights, just little scraps with, whomever, but things that could have been a fight and really bad. Like, I told the guy, like, hey man, like, we'll just go outside, we'll beat the shit out of each other, and we'll come back in, and we'll have a beer. Like, we're not going to wreck the bar or ruin anybody's time here. And they're like, all right, let's fucking go. We step outside, and as they turn around, I'm putting in my mouth guard. And they're like, you just put in a fucking mouth guard? I'm like, yeah. My wife makes me. I get too many of these, so I have a mouth guard. And they're like, do you want to just like go inside and get that drink? And I'm like, I would much rather go inside and just grab a whiskey with you, brother.
Yeah, it sounds
like, I don't want to scrap with you.
Sounds like a way better time.
That sounds like an awesome time. So, yeah, carrying a mouth guard has actually kept me out of fights, which is great.
That's awesome. You got a good woman on you there. That's a smart move.
Oh, she's the best. She's way too good for me. That's for damn sure.
She's a sweetheart. I really enjoyed having breakfast with y'all. That was a fun time.
Yeah, she's the best. I mean, we've been together for 18 going on 19 years now.
Nice. Congrats.
So, yeah, we're high school sweethearts. Didn't go to the same. She grew up in a small town. I mean, I think her town had a total of like 600 people in it, 700 people in it.
Yeah, that's my style.
Yeah, so she grew up in a small town, and I don't know. We just I got engaged in high school, and I married her after basic training. And
nice.
Basic training airborne, then RIP, which was Ranger Indoctrination program. And so, yeah, we got married after that. We've been together ever since, you know?
That's awesome. That's
that's
not
fantastic.
A real common story for the military community. That's you're usually on like your fourth marriage by now.
Yeah, I will say that it takes a fucking hell of a woman.
Yeah.
To deal with this lifestyle, it takes a hell of a woman.
Well, it's rough.
It's a lot of goodbyes.
Yeah. You know? Yeah, it's so my biological dad was he was in the Army for 20 something years. he fought in Vietnam and then all through the 80s and when I'd have been like 6 or 7 when he deployed to Kuwait for the Persian Gulf War. And that particular period of time, he was over there for about 6 months, I believe. And yeah, that was a weird thing because then he's just gone, just out of the picture for 6 months, you know. And it's a whole different deal. And where you're in a like, you know. You're not in like one of the big units of the Army where you're in small teams and you guys are everywhere. I can imagine it's like, you know, that times 10.
Yeah, we're all over the place. I mean, SF as a whole, I think, is in 213 different countries.
Shit, that's yeah.
Yeah, we are. Well, you have to think right now. Like, we're not in a conventional war.
No.
Like, you know, so the only unconventional warfare unit is special forces.
Right. Yeah.
Like we're, and I'm not saying there's not other units out there doing stuff. They are. They're out there. They're doing stuff. I mean, but we are the most utilized unit right now when it comes to the U.S. military.
Well, when you look at the world itself, and I know you can't comment on that, but it's so like the only real conventional war going on is Russia-Ukraine. I mean, Israel, Gaza to a certain extent, but you know, Hamas isn't a traditional military by any means, and so everything else is like unconventional proxy wars essentially, and well, let's face it, we're involved in most of them. So you guys get shipped off everywhere.
Yeah, we're gone a lot. I can say that much.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. She's an amazing woman. She not only does she's a stay-at-home mom. You know, she takes care of our kids. She runs our business. So Team Room Design, she
shout out
runs the books. I mean, you know, unshameless plug here.
Yeah, plug away, man. You're doing some really really cool stuff. Like your artwork there is it's fantastic.
No, I appreciate that. Yeah.
That
yeah, but I mean, again, like I do the artwork, and design the stuff for apparel and all that. She does the rest.
That's awesome.
I mean, she's a fucking force to be reckoned with. Seriously. I mean, it's great. I mean, you met her. She's just quiet and beautiful and fucking intelligent, and she's quick. She's so quick. Like, I wouldn't fuck with her.
Yeah.
She's so quick. I mean, I'd say, honestly, the first 7 years of our marriage, there's Rangers living with us. I mean, when I was at 2nd Ranger Battalion, we had Rangers living with us. And when I was even when I was in Fort Hood, Texas, for a little bit, I had a Ranger buddy living with us. And when I was in the Q course, we had 4 of my Ranger buddies living with us. She called it the barracks. But, so, I mean, she knows the lifestyle. She can fucking hang, for sure.
That's awesome.
But I don't know, she's the best. She runs everything in the books.
That's awesome. Well, congrats to you on that. I mean, like I said, it takes like you were saying, it takes a special. It's kind of the same way in my line of work. Like long hours, like you know how it is. Just there is, for the most part, there is no set quitting time. It's just when the job is done, you're done, and then I for the most part get to go home when I'm done. But but I'll tell my wife, like, I'll be home shortly, and that could be anywhere from 5 minutes to 7 hours later. I don't know. That's one of my weak points, is like judging time. Like, I think I'll get this done in 30 minutes, but I don't know, so I'm just gonna say shortly. I'll be there shortly.
Yeah. I tell her exactly what I got going on.
Yep.
And she knows, and that's just the understanding we have. She knows I'm coming home as soon as I can come home.
Yep.
Like, as soon as I can come home, I'm coming home.
Yeah. Yeah,
and she knows that. We have that general understanding. So there's no friction there.
Yeah. Well, that's awesome. That's consider yourself very, very fortunate, because that's it's, I don't know, if any advice I have for any dudes, particularly the younger guys, is find a good woman and stick with them. Like, if they're good, they'll stick with you. And and I don't know, it's call me old fashioned in that way, but I think that's kind of what we're made here, or what we're put here on earth to do, is find a good woman, make some babies, and take care of them.
Yeah. I mean, stick with them, but communicate.
Yeah,
that's it.
Yeah, you have
I think
to.
a lot of guys. I don't, and I see it in my line of work where it's just like, hey man, just tell your wife what we're doing.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, we just got back from the range. Yes, you could get changed and jet home, but we're going to have a beer in the team room. We're going to talk about what the hell we just did at the range, what we did wrong, what we can do better. And we're going to bullshit a little bit.
Yep.
Because we fucking need that. Because, yeah, even though you may work with a bunch of guys and those guys become your friends, it's still fucking work. Like, we're still working. Mm-hmm. As I assume it's the same, with where you work. Like, yeah, you're working with your friends, but, like, you're still fucking working.
Yep.
So there's something to be said about me being able to shut that part of my brain off for 30 minutes, have a beer or two with the boys, and then come home.
Yeah.
Where there's no conflict with my wife and I tell her that. Mm-hmm. And there's some guys that I don't know why, but it's hard for them to tell their wives what they got going on.
Yeah.
It's like, no, I'm fucking, if I'm going to be, like, if there's a Saturday, which is rare that I get, because most Saturdays, if I get any time that I'm not working, in the shop or I'm not at work, that I kind of take for myself, like I tell her exactly what I have going on, and I don't have an idea when I'll be home because I'm going to be with the dudes. We're just going to go have fucking fun, and we're going to blow off some fucking steam. And I'm telling you, I would hope that you're not met with conflict when you do that. Like, I'm just being honest with you. I need this. She knows I need it.
Yep.
And I know she needs it when she, goes somewhere to hang out with her girlfriends or something like that. There's no, hey, where you at? No, like, I know I will see her when, she gets back, and if she fucking needs me, she's going to hit me up.
Mm-hmm. No,
so there's that level of trust. The communication goes a long way.
It does, and like on the other hand of that, you also got to have your boys to hang out with every now and then too. Like a guy needs that. You
absolutely.
You gotta. I mean, I don't know. It's a major problem in the military community. It's a big problem in agriculture, rural communities as well. But like dudes just got nowhere. Nothing. They feel alone, and they end up blowing their damn brains out. And it's like, go drink some beer with your buddies, and like I don't know, maybe get in a bar fight. Maybe you need to get in a bar fight just to feel alive again or something. But like that's a hell of a lot better than just ending it, Like go talk to your buddies. Go shoot the shit. It's
reach out.
It's it's fun.
Reach out.
And it's necessary. Like we as as a human, we're social creatures. That's even the most antisocial people still gotta you still gotta be around like people that you love, and it's just important. And like I said, it's I don't know, as dudes, it's sometimes it's hard to do it, I guess, but I don't know, it's a lot easier to make a phone call or go crack a beer with your boys than just doing something really stupid that maybe you don't even regret. Well, you're not going to regret because you're gone, but you leave a ton of people behind. They're just like, what the fuck? What now?
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Well, and that it goes both ways.
Mm-hmm.
There's been times, and again, this just comes with my wife and I being together for so long, and she understands the lifestyle and the life we live, where I'll get a phone call from a guy I haven't talked to in years.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll just get a phone call, and it doesn't matter what we're doing. I'm picking up that phone call.
Yeah.
Whereas some, I understand life gets busy. You get caught up in shit. You have stuff going on. But if someone's giving you a call, and especially if someone's giving you a call and you haven't heard from them in a hot minute, just pick up the fucking phone.
Yep.
That just pick up the phone. And I myself have been in, a situation where I need to reach out and call someone, and thankfully I had someone to fucking call.
Mm-hmm.
And it had nothing to do with my wife. It had nothing to do with my kids. It had nothing to do with any of that. It's just what I had going on outside of that. I fucking needed to talk to somebody, and I have the wherewithal to know, like, hey, I'm in a fucking bad place. I'm calling somebody, and thankfully that person, they picked up the fucking phone.
Yeah.
Well, and it goes to, like, hey, if you're in a bad place or you're in a shitty situation or whatever it might be, friends go a long way.
Yeah, they really do.
They go a long fucking way. And I think an issue on that is everybody thinks, like, especially when it comes to soldiers, I can only speak on what I know. I'm not intelligent by any means. Like, I only know what I do.
Mm-hmm.
But when it comes to soldiers, it's a lot of people think it's this thing that goes over time, that it's these small ripples that turn into waves,
mm-hmm.
that turns into depression, that turns into an addiction, that turns into thinking you might take your own life, and then eventually taking your own life. And that's, in my experience, it's not the case. It's, you've had a shitty set of days or a shitty day, and you end up drinking more than you should or doing whatever more than you should. And it's not these ripples that have turned into waves, that have turned into whitecaps, that have turned into, a tidal wave. It's out of nowhere. This fucking tidal wave hits you. and I don't know if we do know there's science now that it goes to brain trauma and everything else in soldiers, but it fucking hits you out of nowhere. And it's a thought of, because we're solutionists. Most of us. I mean, shit, most of the cowboys I've met, they're solutionists.
Yeah.
They see a problem and they have to constantly think on their fucking feet, or think on their horse, if you will, like, of how to solve this. And when you look at variables in equation, for some reason, you draw those variables back to you and you're like, oh, I'm this variable in this equation.
Yeah.
Like, I'm the one fucking up this equation from being a streamlined process. Like, I'm fucking up the A to Z here. I'm the issue. So I'm just going to remove that variable from the equation. It hits you that fast. And for some fucking reason, that solution comes up. It's like, I'm the fucking variable. So, and again, I only say that because I've been there.
Yeah.
And in those times, because it's not natural, it's not normal to you, in those times where you're like in that zone, before you do anything, fucking just reach out. Say 3 people, right?
Yeah.
The first 2 don't pick up. Hey, that third dude's going to pick up. And there's nothing weak. I hate that it's considered weak to reach out to a friend, especially like being a man and I can take care of my own shit. I don't know where that came from, but it's not weak to reach out, because again, you're looking for a solution. Hey, that solution is just to reach out to your buddy and bullshit.
Yeah.
I mean, you could talk about anything. You could talk about, like for us, you could talk about fucking throwing trash balls into a fucking trash can, and how someone on your team can't throw a goddamn ball because you didn't grow up playing sports.
Yeah.
And how that could be fucking funny to you, you know?
Yeah.
Or how fucking so-and-so gets pulled off his fucking horse by some calf that he shouldn't have. You know, it could be something so minute, but that little spark of joy or remembrance of a fucking better time could keep you from that dark place. It's that little bit of light that you might need.
Yeah.
So, when you come to that, it's, you just need to reach out. That's it.
Yeah.
And I only say that because, and that might not be the answer for everybody. I know some people have, terrible shit they're going through. But fucking friends and family can fucking get you on the right path.
No, absolutely. That's 100% correct. Everybody's got their own shit, and I don't know what the ultimate solution to any of it is, but that first step of just reaching out to just talk to somebody. And I think that's part of the issue, because we are men, and it's everybody gets kind of when you're talking about feelings. Well, maybe you don't have to talk about your feelings. Just talk. Shoot the shit. That's it's amazing what that can do. I mean, my good buddy Clint Mundell, I sent you his number here a while back, because they raise beef there in southeast Colorado, and I just something about, like, that's my boy. That's my best friend in this entire planet. And yeah, I'll be headed home from work, and we'll be bullshitting. I'll shoot my wife a text. I said, I'm talking to Clint, and I'll be home when I'm home. And I would talk about nothing at all, but just talk, just shoot the shit.
Yeah.
And if you just feel good when
nonsense.
You're done. Yeah.
Yeah, it could be fucking absolute nonsense.
Yep.
I know, like I said, when I called a friend of mine, who is a leader in our ranks. I mean, he's the leader in our ranks. And he's a friend of mine, Kevin. He picked up. I told him, hey, I'm not fucking doing good. And he said, do you want to talk about it? I said, no. And he's like, okay. So we just started bullshit.
Mm-hmm.
I said, no, I don't want to fucking talk about it. And he was like, all right. Then he asked me, like, well, how was the week? And we started bullshit. And we started talking about, I've known him for a really long time. We started talking about times in the before, times in the future, and stuff like that. And that was it. That's all I needed.
Yep. No, and it's good to.
We didn't even talk about the issue.
Yeah, and sometimes you don't even have to. It's and
Nope.
typically when that happens, it really wasn't that much of an issue, anyways. It was like you got butt hurt or whatever, and
Yeah.
the next thing you know, like, I don't even know what I was pissed off about or what I was down about.
Yeah.
And
yeah, I mean, nothing is that extreme of an issue.
Right.
Like, really, nothing is. It doesn't matter what you're going through.
Yeah.
Nothing is that extreme of an issue.
Yeah, that's.
No, I'm not saying like all you need is a phone conversation. That's not what I'm saying.
No.
I'm saying a lot of times you just need someone to fucking talk to.
Mm-hmm.
I think it starts with just it's building a community. And I'm not saying you should be, helping build your local community. Like, you really should. You should be involved in that. Those are the fucking politics that matter.
Yep.
Is your local community. But just a community in the means of just a network of friends, of people you stay in touch with. And, like, that's just who you call.
Yep.
When shit goes bad, that's who you call.
Right.
Like, I've had buddies on the reverse scenario that have called me in the same context. It's like, hey man, you want to talk about it? I'm here if you want to talk about it. They're like, no dude, I don't want to fucking talk about it.
Yeah.
And I'll be like, oh, alright, well, fucking, let me tell you something about what's going on with me. Like, I don't turn it into, how was your day? I know their day's shit. They're calling me, they're telling me they don't want to fucking talk about it. Their week might have been shit. Their family might have been shit. So I'll just be like, hey, let me fucking tell you something, dude. Here's what I came across. This fucking homeless dude fighting an invisible monster with a blanket, going across I-25, stopping traffic. Just something fucking out of nowhere.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah. It's, there's always something to talk about. And, it's funny, like, they don't want to talk about it. All right, well, do you think Taylor Swift's a psyop? What do you think about that one, huh? Open up a can of worms. Go down a rabbit hole.
Yeah, tighten up that tinfoil hat. See, see where you get.
Exactly. So, being from Iowa, are you a Chiefs fan?
I'm not a sports guy. I'm the wrong guy. I mean, I watch hockey sometimes because I have a friend of mine who plays in the NHL.
Oh, shit.
So if I have time, I might put on a game that he's playing in. But I'm not a sports fan.
Yeah, okay. Fair enough.
I don't know. My normal day consists of going to work, coming home, spending as much time with my ladies as I can, eating dinner with them, getting them to bed, and after they're in bed, either spending time with my wife or I'm in the shop, building stuff, working on stuff.
That's kind of...
Or we're facilitating orders and stuff like that.
That's kind of how my mind goes, too. I got, work, come home, beat up the kids, and then, if I'm not, workout, podcast, that's about it anymore. But it's, it's a funny world we're living in, but there's a lot of good people out in it, and it's cool to, that community deal. Like I met Jeremiah through the internet, and we've become pretty good buddies. I've helped him, flown out to Colorado to help him with his events a couple times now, and then that's how I met you and the rest of your team there, and I don't know, it's the community deal is a big thing. Is probably the coolest thing that I've experienced from starting this podcast venture. Is just so many awesome people that I've met. Like, we did a show in Elko, Nevada here 2 weeks ago, I think, the first weekend of February, and there's a couple from Silver Lake, Oregon, Matt and Rachel Wilson, who are just two of my favorite people on earth, and I only see them at Cowboy Poetry in Elko once a year, but now, like, they're it's just awesome. I know that when I'm hanging out with them, I'm gonna laugh. We're gonna tell stories. It's just gonna be a big old time, and that all came about because of the podcast, and it's cool being able to just build a community of just good people.
Yeah, for sure.
And and
it's the best.
It's that's what makes the whole world go around. So it's just like I said, Jesus is my faith, but good people's my religion, and it's treated me pretty well so far.
Yeah.
Well, Benny, I don't want to cut you short, but it's getting a little later your time, and I'm sure you got shit to do. But I really appreciate this conversation, man. We should do it again sometime, and make sure you go check out his stuff, Team Room Design on Instagram, Team Room _ Design. Is that right?
Yeah. Team Room _ Design. Yeah.
Awesome. It's he makes some really cool stuff, and I'm gonna have to have you make me something one of these days. I don't know what yet, but I'll we'll be in touch. We'll talk about it.
Heck yeah.
So one of these days we'll when you're done with the military life, we'll show your face and everything, and we'll get to know everything about Mr. Benny.
Yes, sir.
Cool. Well, hey man, you take care. Take care of your family. Tell them hi for me, and you stay safe out there. All right.
Sounds good, boss. You as well.
All right, will do. Thanks everybody for tuning in, and Benny, if you'll hang on for a few minutes, I'm gonna wrap this up here. But we'll if you got a few extra minutes, I'd love to shoot the shit for a few more.
Oh, for sure.
All right, cool, man. Well, thanks everybody for tuning in. Make sure you go check out the Patreon. You get bonus content, ad-free content, and sometimes you get. I'm getting caught up on stuff, but sometimes you'll get some bonus episodes. So check it out. It's patreon.com/Burnin Daylight, and move your ass. We're Burnin Daylight.
Your eyes up in the morning, beneath the stars so bright. Pull your hat down, make sure your cinch is tight. Horses kinda snuffy, cold chill up your spine. You'll get your ass moving, son, we're burning daylight. Burning daylight. Burning daylight. In the saddle till the job's done right. Burning daylight. Well, life is just a gather, and you won't catch 'em all. But when you ride through the gate, make sure you sit up tall. I can see the horizon, it's looking pretty bright. Well, get your ass moving, son, we're burning daylight.